Okay, my study buddies, my painting buddies, my workmates and procrastinators, welcome back to the studio. Whatever it is that you're up to, let's keep each other accountable, let's keep each other focused, or let's just keep each other company for the next hour. And as always, just let us know what you're up to in the comments, and let's just get started. As you can see, things are a little bit different today. I am planning on painting like an atmospheric sky with some clouds, but I'm really not sure where to start. I'm not great with clouds and things, so I'm just gonna go as loosely and as abstract as I can at first and see what I end up with. I have attempted painting clouds in the past before and it hasn't turned out great, so it's just an experiment, you know. I'm not gonna learn if I don't try, so just gonna kind of go with it. I am working from a reference and I will have a link to that down below if you want to paint along or you just want to see what I'm working with. But at the moment I'm just gonna block in some of the lighter areas, see if that kind of helps set the scene a little bit. I feel like Bob Ross with my big brush and my swooping hand motions. I don't know. I really don't have a plan going into this. It took me long enough to set out this new filming setup today, so I thought I would just get on with the painting, see what I end up with, and hopefully we'll end up with something at the end of it. Obviously it's just kind of a study, so it doesn't really matter how it looks, but it'd be nice to get a bit further in my efforts of painting clouds and skies. Anyway, quick catch up regarding what we talked about last time. So last time we talked about changing the name of the series and kind of the format of it, and as you can see, things are slightly different now. So I wanted to change it from an hour in my sketchbook to an hour in the studio, partly because the hour in my sketchbook, I kind of joint that with my faster versions of this, so the sped up versions as well, so people would sometimes click on them thinking that they were going to spend an hour with me and it would only be 5 minutes, so I thought I would have a better separation between those two series. So now there's what's the other one called? Fill a Sketchbook with Me, which is the faster version, and then this is the hour in my studio. And then I wanted to change the name just because I don't want it to always be in my sketchbook like today. It's kind of nerve-wracking working on this scale. I don't really do that often. And one of the things I realised when I was doing my studio rejig was that I have so many canvases that I haven't used. I went on a bit of a canvas buying spree a while ago, and I have loads of kind of bigger surfaces to work on that I just don't really bother with. So I was umming and ahhing this morning whether or not I would go for this size or one that was about half the size, and in the end I thought, you know what, I'm just going to go for it, see what I end up with. I honestly have no idea what I'm doing. Very loose and very just you know, tentative, just seeing how this goes. I mean, that kind of looks like a glowy sky, and I feel like if I can kind of build on that, I don't know, I think I'm being a little bit hopeful, but there's nothing wrong with that. If anything, I'll end up with something fun and abstract. I did pre-mix a couple of colours just before we started, so I wasn't spending too much time mixing. I'm sure I'll have to mix up some more as we go on. Hopefully the sound is okay. I'm trying a new system today with the audio. If it's not okay, this video won't be going up, but hopefully it's all good. So other than the new series name, we've been getting on with Inktober. Today's the first day where I haven't started my day with my Inktober drawing. And if you want to know more about Inktober and what I'm up to, what it is, I have a video that I posted earlier this week, so I'll have that linked on the screen now and below. But yeah, normally I start my day with it. It's the first thing I do, but I thought today it'd be nice to get a bit more colourful, a bit more experimental. But so far it's going really well, and it's been great to hear what you guys have been up to. One of the ideas that I really liked that stood out when I asked what you guys were doing, someone mentioned that they were going to be doing lighthouses. I thought that was a really cool idea, and that was Wonder How, I think. So yeah, I would love to know how it's going for you if you've started yet. But yeah, there have been loads of cool ideas. Obviously, as always, loving Furry Little Peach's drawings, and I love her prompts. I think if I ever did follow a prompt list, it would be hers, just because it's the right kind of prompt for me. It's not too abstract, but you can also do a lot with it, where you can kind of adapt it and adjust it to suit you. I find the official prompt list is great. It really forces you to be creative, but it's just like an extra challenge for me on top of drawing every day to interpret those prompts into something. And I always stick to my own prompts really, or my own theme. I did have a comment yesterday saying something along the lines of, why are people making their own prompts and calling it Inktober? And I just want to iterate or reiterate that you don't have to follow the official prompts for it to officially be Inktober. Jake Parker has said that himself. And you know, let's just stop policing how people do an art challenge. It's not that serious. It's not that deep. I think if you're taking part in any way, then that's something to be celebrated. It's been a long time since I've actually looked at the reference, and I think I should probably do that at some point. Although it's not terrible. I'm getting sky vibes, sky colours. Just depends how abstract I want to go with this and how true to the reference I want to go. I feel like I have a lot to talk about today. I've actually been really looking forward to filming this because I have a lot of books that I have read, and just generally loads of stuff to catch up on with you guys. I'm hoping to do these videos every other week, so hopefully it won't be too full on with all the things that I need to catch you up on every single time. I don't remember the last time I did one of these. I think it was before I went to Berlin. Am I the only person that uses their apron as something to wipe their brush off on? I don't know if that's the best thing to do, but it's just a handy little area to wipe things on. This is also the apron I got from Pan Art. It's coming in handy very well. Okay. Another thing that we talked about last time was my little rant about changing internet providers and how I don't know how rude they were about it, how stubborn they were, and it was really interesting to hear from you guys and find out that that was not a rare thing, that they do that all the time. Really annoying, but I am with my new internet provider now, and so far I would say that things are going pretty well. Definitely faster, and really I'm just happy to not be in that contract anymore with my previous provider. I would like to see if it'd be possible to do some streaming. I used to stream, back when I lived at my mum's, we would do streams on Patreon, and I really liked that, and I would like to go back to doing that. So it'd be interesting to see if we have the internet power to be able to do that. Painting skies is so much fun because you really can just kind of make it up. I'm going to make a real mess of myself over here. I don't want to lose like the brightness that I've got there, which I think I will if I mess about too much. Looks good though, I like the colours. So let's talk about the new studio. If you've seen one of my more recent videos, I did a little bit of a rearrange in here just to get more space, to make space for Ozzy so he could do some stuff in here. and more storage, I guess, and I've got a bigger desk now, which is fantastic, and I've been using it for a week or so now, and it's just amazing. I'm in here every day, which I wasn't as much before, so I think that just is testament to what a difference it can make to just have a rethink of how you're using your space, because it's just been amazing. It's just such a relieving feeling walking in here at the start of the day. It feels really nice. I never pour out enough white. Honestly, I feel like I'm going to use the whole tube today. I know I've only just started this, but I would so recommend doing this for anyone that wants to do a bit of painting. It's just so relaxing. And even though I have no idea what I'm doing, it doesn't really matter. I feel like, especially if you keep the colours you're using to a minimum, I think that lessens the chance of it getting really muddy. So I'm at the moment just using like a cadmium red, a bit of a cadmium yellow, and ultramarine blue, and then a bit of black as well. And that's just keeping things in the same kind of colour family, in the same kind of vibe. I mean, I don't know how it's all going to come together, but it's just nice to sweep some colours back and forth over a canvas. So yeah, studio's looking good. It's actually been a year last week since we moved in here now. Our moving anniversary, we had Chinese and Prosecco, because if you remember the vlog from when we moved in, that is what we did on the day we moved in. It was nice to kind of see the difference now. We're not sitting on the floor, and we have an actual TV stand and stuff like that. We actually have furniture now. It's funny to look back and see how far things have come, but I'm also really, at the moment, really motivated to do more in the house. So the next thing I plan on doing is actually reupholstering our sofa. We got our sofa from British Heart Foundation for about £90. It was a great deal, but I never liked it. I don't mind the shape of it, but it's brown. I don't know, just not really something that I would have gone for, but it was affordable, and it has done us well this year. But now I think it'd be nice to try a little something with it, and because it was cheaper, I'm not too worried about ruining it, and if all else fails, I'll just cover it with a big sheet or something. I've never reupholstered a sofa before, as you can imagine. I've done sewing here and there, and I've made cushion covers, and I've reupholstered the seat of my stool from my old drum kit, and that is kind of the extent of my reupholstering knowledge. But I have a plan, and I might film it. If you guys are interested in seeing that, let me know. I don't know if that's the kind of thing that anyone would want to see on my channel, but if it is, just let me know, and I will maybe make it part of a vlog or something. This looks really cool. Am I being crazy? I feel like this looks really nice and glowy. I hope I don't overwork it and lose some of this brightness in the middle. It looks really good. But yeah, reupholstering. We'll see how that goes. I'm looking forward to it. I think I'll do that next week. So do let me know if you're interested in seeing that, and also let me know if you're not interested in seeing it, because I don't want to go to the effort of filming it if no one's going to watch it. I'm happy. I'm really happy. I was so scared going into this, but I feel like I'm going to look back on this when I'm editing and be like, that's where it all went wrong. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens. I might start doing some more abstract paintings like this. I can see why people do it. It's just fun. It's just what art should be. Okay, where next? Down here. Yeah, been here for a year now, which has gone really quickly, and that means it's around the time, it's 3 years more or less since we first started dating, Ozzy and I, and it's actually, oh yes, oh my gosh, exciting stuff. It's 3 years since I left my job now, since I left my job at Sainsbury's supermarket. And fun news, well, it's fun for me, it's interesting for me, but we're actually all meeting up tonight. And it's the first time that I will have seen some of my old colleagues since I left 3 years ago. It's just a small group of us. I'm really happy. I feel like proud of myself because I'm not great at reaching out to people, but I kind of decided, you know what, I want to see people, and I sent out a couple of messages to people that I hadn't spoken to in a while, and there was like a resounding yes, let's do it, let's meet up. So we're meeting up tonight. I'm really excited about it. Really looking forward to seeing people. So one of the people that we're seeing is a girl that I went to school with, so I see her all the time. I actually saw her last weekend anyway, but it'd be nice to see her again. And another one of the guys I keep in touch with quite regularly as well. And then one of the girls I bumped into about a year ago, and we said we must stay in touch, and we didn't, so it would be nice to see her. And another one of the girls was like my best friend there, and we've only really stayed in touch to say happy birthday to each other each year, so it'd be really nice to actually have a good catch up, see what she's up to. She was studying law when we were working at Sainsbury's, and I'm sure by now she must be done, so it'd be really interesting to see how that's going for her. And then one of the other guys, again, he's the reason this kind of started, because I bumped into him back in April at the pub, and we said that we should all meet up, and obviously that didn't happen until now. So yeah, I'm really excited for tonight. And also, I don't know, it's just kind of crazy to look back and think, wow, it's been a whole 3 years of me being self-employed, and it's only now really that I feel like I'm settling into it. But I'm happy. Things recently have been going well, I think, work-wise. I feel like I'm kind of finding my stride, so may that continue. See, this is where I'm getting a bit worried, because I feel like the more I try to blend this in with the rest, the more I'm gonna muddy it. So I might just leave it a little bit. I don't want to, because I can always kind of go over with like more detail-y stuff, more clouds. Yeah, because I can. Anyway, yeah, I think you guys are realising how much I move my hands while I'm painting, so hopefully I'm not like getting into the frame too much. Did I say move my hands when I'm painting? I meant move my hands when I'm talking. I don't normally move my hands this much when I'm painting. I really do feel like Bob Ross. But no happy little trees in this painting. I'm happy though. I'm doing a lot of happy dances. Although now I am kind of going for more daring brush strokes. This could be where it all starts to fall apart. Keep an eye on the time, because at some point my camera is going to auto shut off, and it would be such a tragedy to lose any of this footage. I might need to take a step back at some point and just kind of get a better perspective on what I'm working on. Might also change brush at some point. And don't know what I'm doing. The only other thing that I really have to catch up with you on since last time, I did my first ever escape room last weekend. The friend that I was talking about, her birthday, we went to an escape room. Not gonna lie, the lead up to it, I was kind of thinking, why are we doing this? I'd rather just go to the pub, but I loved it. I actually loved it. Like, I had so much fun. And it was like a scary, like, serial killer house theme. You guys know I love my horror films and things. So yeah, I really enjoyed it. We also won, our team won, we got the best time. We were like locked in this cage and handcuffed to it and had to figure out a way out and, you know, find loads of clues. And yeah, it was really cool. I would definitely recommend it to anyone that hasn't done an escape room. I was a bit of a naysayer, but I've eaten my words. See, this is where I knew I would run into trouble. Like, I don't know how to paint clouds. I really don't. I don't know how it works. I don't. There's some kind of system to it, I'm sure, and I just don't know it. I don't know what layers go on top of what layers and where it should be light and where it should be dark. But we're gonna keep it playful. We're gonna keep it light, okay? I'm not gonna get too stressed about it. It's not a big deal. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. Just checking I'm not in the way. Hopefully I haven't been in the way. As I said, this is a new filming setup for me, so might not be great at first, and it won't always be like this because I'm not always going to be painting on canvas. Sometimes we'll be doing our regular like overhead shots, which are a lot easier to set up. I only have one tripod, so I've actually got my kind of face camera set up on stacks of things. Old school. That's what I'm sure many YouTubers have done at the start of their YouTube careers, and many are still doing. Oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I just don't get it. I really don't. Let me just have a proper look at this reference. Okay. There's less light in it. What I might do is leave this area, come back to it, because at the moment it's looking a bit overworked and everything's wet, so it's all blending in anyway. No, okay. No, I think we're getting somewhere. We're on track with that. That did a little something, didn't it? That made it look a bit more cloudy. Right, well, let's get to a couple of comment questions. As always, if you have any questions that you want answered in one of these videos, just ask them. You can ask them in any of the videos in the comments, because I just kind of note down all of them, and when I'm kind of planning the video, I'll have a look through all the questions that I've gathered and get to them there. So this question is from a few videos ago, maybe 2 or 3 videos ago. It's from FH, and they said, do you think artists should have drawing related books, i.e. anatomy, etc.? And I don't think you have to have books to learn art. I do think you should always be striving to learn. If you want to do this, you know, in a legit way, I do think you should always be learning. Even the professionals are still learning. But it depends what kind of learner you are. It depends if having a book to work from is going to be helpful for you. You might be someone that benefits more from like a one-on-one kind of setting, in which case I know that kind of thing isn't always easily accessible, but you can do online courses. So at the moment I'm doing a schoolism course by Nathan Fowkes, I get his name wrong every time, and that is on landscape painting in gouache and watercolour, and that has more of a one-on-one setting. Even though I'm not doing it in the traditional sense and having him actually mark my work, it's nice to feel like you have someone there that's talking to you. He is a very good teacher. I mean, he teaches for a living at the moment, I guess, and he's done some of my favourite artwork. He did the background art for The Prince of Egypt, which is my favourite film of all time, favourite animated film anyway, and the artwork in that is just out of this world. I think that's why I loved it so much growing up. It just had me in complete awe, just visually. So he did the artwork on that. He did the Road to El Dorado, which I also love. God, I love that film. I need to watch that again. And what else did he do? The one with the horses, Stallion of the Cimarron or something like that. Spirit Stallion of the Cimarron. So he's an incredible teacher, and if you can find someone like that or something like that that fits you, I think schoolism is a good one art-wise if you're looking for courses, because they have a few different types of things on there depending on what kind of art you want guidance on, and it's all taught by people that really know their stuff and really know how to teach, which I think is really important. Skillshare, of course, you know I love Skillshare, is a great way to learn as well. For me, I love books, not so much for learning, but more for studying, which is kind of different for me, just in terms of I'll see something in a book and want to copy it, draw it. I like having other artists' work in books rather than copying it from on a screen, for example. Like if I'm going to study another artist, I like to look at their work in print. I just find it easier to get a closer look and really hone in on the brush strokes and the details that you might not see when you're just looking at it on a screen. Sorry, I got distracted then, worried that I wasn't recording. I am going to pause for a second. I think now's a good time to get up and stretch, have a drink, just refresh ourselves, and I will see you back here in a minute or so. Okay, here we are again. Let's carry on. I feel like I'm a bit behind on where I want to be at, and I'm considering, you know, are we going to drag this video on longer than an hour? Are we going to be able to do that? It's lunchtime soon, and I'm going to want to eat, but I don't want to stop with this painting. I'm really enjoying it, and I have a lot of books to talk about. So yeah, back to that question. Basically, I don't think you have to have books. I think you can use books in a way that works for you. For me, it is just using them to draw from rather than to learn things. But there are some great books. I'm looking down here because I've got a few books there. James Gurney does some great books. Drawing Imaginative Realism, Drawing from Imagination, his book is a great one. And he's got another one that's really good, but there are a few that are great for learning. And as I said, it just depends what kind of learning would benefit you the most. I'm just wondering if we have time for another question. Let's see. Davies Art Studio asked on Instagram quite a while ago, how do I decide which drawings stay in my sketchbook and which ones end up going for print or being sold? And anything that I do in my sketchbook, I don't do it with the intention of ever selling it or even showing it. Anything I do in my sketchbook is just for fun, it's just something that I'm doing at the time. And that for me, it needs to be like that. So if I do end up making something in my sketchbook that I want to sell, then fine. I can obviously just scan it and print it. But yeah, generally anything in my sketchbook is never made with the intention of turning it into something. And then anything I do outside of my sketchbook is really the opposite. Most of the time I don't work that much outside of my sketchbook unless it's part of a project, not necessarily to sell, but just part of something bigger. I prefer to keep my drawings all in one place, so generally I'll do it in a book. So if I don't, it's probably for something. And then there's stuff like this that I don't plan on selling this, but it's just an important part of study to learn how to work on a larger scale, work on canvas, work in acrylic, just all the different things that I wouldn't really get out of working in my sketchbook. And it's nice to work on a bigger scale to loosen up and, I don't know, just do something a bit different. So yeah, there's no like exact separation between what's going to be sold, what's going to be in my sketchbook, what's going to be whatever. It just is whatever I do at the time. And as I said, if it's in my sketchbook, it's just for practice, it's just for fun. I'm not worrying about whether my references are royalty free or things like that. I like it. I feel like these clouds are standing out too much. There's a real like looseness to it all, and I'd like to bring that back a little bit over here. I don't want to do too much. I don't want to. Just maybe get rid of some of these hard edges. Not all of them, because I do think it's important to have a bit of a hard edge here and there, keep some kind of focus to it. These brushes, by the way, are just like, I think they're from B&Q. They're just for like painting walls and things. They came in a cheap set, and I normally use them for decorating, but I thought since we're working on this scale, these would work quite well, and so far so good. They are a bit rough, but they're doing the job. Right, so now it is time for my favourite part of these videos, where I talk about what I've been working on, what I have been reading, and what I've been watching. So I have just been working on Inktober drawings, as you know, and not a huge amount more. I always seem to talk about writing something potentially, and this month I really wanted to actually get to that, get on with it. So I'm hoping to start writing a short story probably next week. I have a little plan going, and also next month is Nanowrimo, which is National Novel Writing Month. I don't plan on writing a novel, but I think it'd be nice to kind of make the most of the community aspect of that challenge as it's going on. Lots of writers joining in the same boat. So, and as I always say, every time I mention the fact that I want to do some writing, it's nothing that I plan on sharing, really. We'll see, but I don't want to have like pressure on. I just want to dip my toes back into the world of writing and see what I end up with. And I'm looking forward to it. It'll be fun. It'll be interesting to see how that goes. I do have a couple of fun writing projects lined up though. Writing and illustrating projects, something that I will be making videos about. It'll be interesting. But hopefully it won't be too long before I can get around to that, because it's been an idea that I've had for a while, and I think it'd just be quite funny, quite a funny video, or a couple of videos. And that's pretty much it for what I've been working on. No like proper projects going on at the moment. but I think Inktober is going to be the bulk of what I'm doing this month. I've thought about making a zine at the end of it out of the artwork, because I don't know, people really like them and I love them as well, but I don't want to have that pressure on while I'm creating the work. So it's on the cards, definitely, but so far it is just like a personal project, and we'll see where we end up, if I find it print worthy. But I will be doing a sketchbook tour at the end of the month anyway, so you can see all the artwork put together. Now then, finally time to get around to talking about what I've been reading, and I feel like I've been reading a lot. So last time we spoke, I said that I was going to start reading The Waves by Virginia Woolf. I had never read any Virginia Woolf before, and I didn't know going into it that The Waves was one of her more poetic novels. I don't even know if you can call this a novel, because it really is just pure prose. Like, it's just this constant like stream of thought of 6 people, I think, 6 school friends as they kind of grow up, grow apart, and come back together. I'm not that far into it, so I'm not 100% sure where it is going, but I was struggling with it, not gonna lie. It felt like going back to school reading it, because it is beautifully written but very poetic. It is, as I said, like a stream of consciousness, so you're really going from one person's thoughts to another. It's not like, oh, we're at the park, this thing's happening. It's really just a constant flow, and I don't know if that's why it's called The Waves, like the ebb and flow of it, but it's not an easy read, but it is a beautiful book. So I've put that down for a bit, because at that time I was just about to leave for Berlin, and I needed something that would be a bit easier to read on that journey. I knew that, I would be getting like travel anxiety, social anxiety, being somewhere, on a work trip with people that I didn't know very well. I needed a book that I could kind of escape into when I was back at the hotel, or even just waiting at the airport. So at the airport, I had about an hour to spare before my flight, so I did a bit of book shopping. I don't normally shop for books in person, I normally just get them online, so I don't get to have that fun browsing experience. So that was really cool. I just went to WH Smith's and had a look through what they had in there at the time. I was in there for a really long time, actually, and I picked up a couple of books. I picked up The Handmaid's Tale, which I have read before for English class, but I just thought it'd be nice to read that again. It was 2 for 1 or something, so I just decided to get 2 books, and that was the other one. And then the main book that I got was called The Lullaby, which was by Leila Slimani, I think. It's a French book. She's a French author, French-Moroccan, and it was translated by Sam Taylor, I think, my copy of it. Also, I tried to find it on Goodreads and I couldn't find it under that name. I found it under the name The Perfect Nanny. So if you're looking for it, it might be under that name as well. And then, of course, it might be under a different name in the original French version. But it was interesting. I'd gone through so many books in that shop, and I read the back of this one and I was just like, yeah, this sounds really good. There's a really eerie atmosphere to it. It's about this young couple in Paris. It does feel very Parisian, but like gritty Paris, like cigarettes on cast iron balcony type Paris. I don't know if that makes any sense, but I have an image in my mind of the Paris that this is set in. And it's this young couple with 2 young children, a baby and a toddler, and the mum wants to go back to work. She's getting really restless, so they hire a nanny, and it goes really well. They really love this nanny. The nanny loves the children, takes them out, cooks them food, cooks the whole family food. It's just a match made in heaven, and they become more and more dependent on each other, more and more close with each other, and the relationship starts to get really weird, a bit uncomfortable. There's a real sense of uncomfortableness throughout this book. There's just this overbearing feeling, like this impending doom. From the start of the book, you know what's going to happen, you know how it's going to end, and you know it's going to end horribly, because the first sentence really tells you that. But even knowing that, without knowing that, you feel it coming. You can feel something awful coming, and just this atmosphere grows and grows, this horrible awkwardness, and just, I don't know, it made me really uncomfortable, but I loved it. It felt so real. and like even the bad thoughts, there was something in them that felt really human. I don't know, it was so well written, so well written. Like, this author, Leila Slimani, has such an understanding of people. These characters were so real, and yeah, I was so into it, and I loved it so much. And when I love a book that much, I have to give it to someone else. So I gave it to my mum when I got home. She read it. She didn't dislike it, but she didn't love it. She said she found it really depressing. So if you are interested in it, take that on board. If you're willing to be made to feel uncomfortable and unsettled, I think it could be a good book. I think possible trigger warnings, but if you read the first page, you kind of know where it's going, you know what's going to happen. So if that's not for you, then put it down, because yikes. So that was that book. I read that, it's quite a short one, so I read it the whole time I was away in Berlin. Sorry, I got really out of breath talking about that. I got really excited and into it. What are we missing here? I feel like we need a bit of, I don't want to ruin it. There are, in this picture that I'm looking at, there are like little bits of land here. So the next book that I read was called City of Thieves. It was by David Benioff, and I know that he is like the screenwriter for Game of Thrones. That doesn't mean anything to me because I don't watch Game of Thrones, or I didn't, and it's got nothing to do with that kind of stuff anyway. Really great book, again, loved it. This one was a recommendation from my mum, who read it for her book club, and it was set in Russia during the Second World War, during the Nazis' siege of Leningrad / St. Petersburg, and it follows this young boy. It's kind of a coming of age type story. This boy, the Russian boy, Jewish, who in this horrible, grim time, this time where there's just nothing to eat, it's cold, everyone, most of the people in his city have left or died, and there's like bodies everywhere. I mean, it paints such a grim scene of the situation. He gets into a bit of trouble, and he ends up getting arrested by his own troops, locked up, and he knows that in the morning he'll be executed, because that's what happens to all prisoners. And then later that night, another guy gets thrown into a cell, this really charismatic, charming blonde guy, the complete opposite of him, our protagonist. And in the morning they both get taken out. They're waiting for their execution, and instead they get taken to a colonel's house, and the colonel says, my daughter's getting married, and we want to make her a wedding cake, and in order to make it we need a dozen eggs. So if you can get me a dozen eggs by the end of this week, I will let you live. And so these two boys who don't know each other are tasked with finding eggs in a place where people are eating like scraps of old bread or sand from like factories that have fallen down. There was one part where people are eating soil from the ruins of an old factory, because the factory used to use sugar, and they're saying that there's sugar in the soil underneath it. I mean, that's how desperate times are. So in all of that, these boys are looking for eggs. So it's a really interesting story, really grim, really bleak, but really well written, beautifully written. The characters are so real. I don't know if they are actually real, because I feel like it's based on the story of the author's grandfather. I don't know, I might have kind of missed that or messed that up, but the communication between them, everything, the funny bits and the sad bits, everything was so real and just so well executed, and it made me cry, and I got really mad at it for that. But yeah, I would so recommend it. I had a good reading month. That was another one that's really going to go up there in my favourites. So after that, I say I had a good reading month. After that, A few months ago, I talked about reading a book called Wool, which I loved. It was by Hugh Howey. It's a post-apocalyptic world. People are living in silos underground. I loved it. It was probably my favourite book of the year so far. And it's one of 3. So I've been kind of waiting a bit to get involved in the sequel, or in the next one. And my mum also read it. She really liked it, and she gets like alerts from our local library because she's well into it. So she got an alert saying that the second book in the series had come to our library. So she went and got it. She couldn't read it at the time because she was reading 2 other books at the time. So she said that I could have it first. And I started reading it, and I thought, I don't know about this. Like, I knew that the second book follows different people in a different area, I think, but the same kind of situation, and this just didn't feel the same. So I found out that it wasn't the second book in the series that she'd got. It was a whole new series, I don't know, by the same author. So it's still post-apocalyptic world setting, which, as I said, is one of my favourite genres, probably my favourite genre. But it's like this world where our world, like us right now, has been buried in sand long ago, and there are people that kind of dive down into the sand, almost like scuba divers, to reclaim the relics of our lost world. And a good premise, I guess, kind of. I didn't like it. I was really disappointed right from the beginning, and I think part of that was thinking that it would be a completely different book, but I didn't like how it was written. It didn't feel like the same author, and I kind of have been speculating about, because Wool, the book that I really liked, was self-published, and I've been thinking, that must have been a passion project for him, and maybe when he got his book deal, I don't know, maybe it took the magic out of it a bit for him, but yeah, it didn't do it for me. I didn't like how it was written. You're following 4 siblings, and to me, they pretty much all meshed into one. There wasn't anything about the individual characters that stood out to me and said, this is Vic's voice, this is Palmer's voice, this is Connor's voice. Connor and Palmer especially were the same person to me, and Vic as well, and Rob, the other brother, was kind of barely in it. So yeah, I don't know, I didn't like the characters. I mean, the characters were all the same person, and I didn't like them that much. So I don't know, yeah, it didn't get me. And then because you're following 4 different people, you start the book somewhere with one person, and as it starts to get interesting, and I understand the beginning of the book, you've got to do that build up. It starts to get interesting, and then you switch to the next character. And so you kind of have to start again from the beginning, and it took like the first 200 pages or something. Like, you're deep into the book, you're probably past halfway through before it starts to get interesting. I will say, when it did start to get interesting, it did get interesting. The last third of the book I liked. I enjoyed it a lot more than I'd enjoyed the first part. And I thought, okay, when I found out that it was a different book, it wasn't part of the Wool/Silo trilogy, I went online and saw that it was called Sand 1, I thought it said 1 of 5. So it made sense to me reading it and it being so slow, because I thought, okay, well, this is just the first part in a series of 5 books, so it makes sense that it's so slow. It's kind of building up to what's going to be a massive series. And then as I finished it, I looked online again when I went on Goodreads to say that I'd finished it, and it actually said it was 1 to 5, so it's actually a collection of 5 short stories put together. So it isn't the first in a series as far as I know, but I also still feel like it must be, because the way it ended, like what? I don't know. I would feel very disappointed if everything just got wrapped up in those last 2 chapters the way they did, without more to it. So if there are more books that have come out or are coming out in this series, then I would read them, because by the end of this one I was interested. a little bit interested enough to keep reading. For the first half of the book, I wouldn't have carried on the series if it carried on like that. But by the end, yeah, I was interested enough. But yeah, all in all, that's probably my lowest rated book of the year so far, which is a shame because I really like this author more than just his first book, Wool, which I 100% recommend. Even at the end of that book, he did a little like author Q&A, and he made me chuckle just from that. And I thought, yeah, I like this guy. So I don't know, I think it maybe just didn't click with me. It's still quite a highly rated book, so I think it's probably just a me thing. I like this, but this area is just not kind of fitting with the rest of it. So since then, I had to finish that quite quickly, obviously, because my mum needed to take it. Well, my mum needs to read it, and I don't know if she will now because I've said some bad things about it, but she needs to read it and take it back to the library. And in the meantime, she's got another book that she's given me. My books that I have on my list to read, I never get around to because my mum's always giving me other books that she says are amazing. So she's just given me a book called An American Marriage by Tayari, let's have a look, Tayari Jones. And I don't know much about it. I started it last night. I only read a couple of pages. But from what I've read of the blurb, and even that I don't really remember, it's this African-American couple in, I don't even know, some part of America. And yeah, I don't know what it's about. I'm sure people have heard of it, and I'm sure I'll have more to say about it next time because I literally have read about 4 pages so far. I will say from the pages I've read, it feels very American. It feels very like, I don't know, I'm reading it in like an American accent, like an Atlanta accent. I'm reading it like I'm T.I. And you can't not, well, I can't not, which is quite embarrassing, but yeah, I'm liking it so far though, the writing style. I'm intrigued, I'm interested, and we'll see how it goes. My mum really, really liked it, so that's generally a good sign, although we don't necessarily have the exact same taste in books, clearly, because she didn't like one of my favourite books, the one about the nanny. See, these are supposed to be rocks down here, but those look like better clouds than those do, and I don't know what I can really do to salvage that now because it has been overworked, which is a shame because other than that area, I'm really happy with it. How much time do we have? Oh gosh, not much at all. Okay, to finish off, I'll just try and. So every once in a while I look into the viewfinder to see what it looks like from afar. Oh no, don't ruin it now. Don't ruin it now. Oh, also in this picture, what drew me to it is there's like little bits of lightning going around, but I don't think I'm gonna put that in because I feel like it might be a step too far. Oh, what do you think? I don't know if I should do it. So that's it for what I've been reading, and then what I've been watching. I watched a film on Netflix called Snowman, which is based on a Joe Nesbo book. Don't mind a bit of Joe Nesbo. I like that kind of detective stuff. I like a Scandi drama, and I thought that's what this film would be. Scandi crime shows are so good. They're so like dirty and gritty, and for whatever reason, this film didn't do that at all. It was too, not even Hollywood, but it was just too simplified. Like it was made a bit too palatable, maybe. Like it didn't have the Scandi charm that I thought it would, which is a shame because it had a good cast, decent story, you know, just kind of a standard Joe Nesbo detective crimey story. But I don't know. It was all right. It was just all right. I found it too obvious the way it did things, like the down and out detective in his flat that's just full of crap and people are talking behind his back. Oh my god, it's that guy that drinks too much and didn't he get suspended? That was literally a line in it, and I thought, is this for real? This feels like a comedy at this point, like it's just so obvious. But other than that, the acting was good because, as I said, it had a really good cast, and the story was good because it was Joe Nesbo. I also watched a film on Netflix called Gerald's Game, which one of my friends recommended to me, which is about this woman and her husband who go like on a romantic retreat to kind of spice up their relationship, and he handcuffs her to the bed, just, you know, some fun, and he has a heart attack and dies, and then she kind of has to find a way out of there. And in the midst of it, she's like having hallucinations, she's got like maybe sleep paralysis demons, like I mean, again, it was like okay, the end was too much. The end, it could have ended about 20 minutes before it did, and then I would have been a bit more satisfied, but it was okay. I think one thing that I did like was like the sleep paralysis-y bit. I don't even know if it was sleep paralysis, but there's like this horrible demon man thing in the corner, and having had sleep paralysis a few times, that was such an accurate representation of what it's like. Like, it was so, not even like what it looks like or anything like that, it's just like the feeling of it, the weird uncomfortableness of it, like whatever it is you're seeing, there's something about it that's so off, and they got that spot on with that. And that was right at the beginning, so I thought, oh wow, okay, this is promising, and then yeah, not so much. I would say if you like Haunting on Hill House, it's like the exact same cast, like the dad, the mum, and Theo, the middle sister, they're all in it, so if you want to see those guys again, it'd be worth checking out. Although my favourite sibling was Nell anyway. I am just kind of playing now. I do think it's working. I'm worried about time. How can we wrap this up? I also watched a film called Uprising on Netflix. I haven't finished it. I don't think I will. It's kind of like a stonery zombie type thing. If you want something that you can watch really easily, then go for it. But other than that, look, I'm just going to leave it. I'm going to leave it at that. If I do any more fiddling, I will show you the finished result. But I've really enjoyed this. It's been really fun. And hopefully you have enjoyed hanging out with me as we've done it. And I guess I'll just see you next time for the next one. And don't forget to leave any questions or comments below. But thank you so much for joining me, and I will see you soon. Bye.
Thank you.